Welcome to Let's Talk Micro.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Micro. I hope you had a great week. As always, Let's Talk Micro it's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Pandora. Whatever you listen to your podcast, you can find Let's Talk Micro. I am also on Instagram as Let's Talk Micro, no apostrophe, and on Twitter as Let's Talk Micro 1. So go ahead and follow. I always like to post pictures of organisms, and I also like to give updates as to when new episodes are coming. Or if I see maybe an interesting article in microbiology, I go ahead and share it. And if you haven't listened to the previous episode, go ahead and do so. In the last episode, I finished talking about coagulase negative staph, and I also talk about micrococcus and aerococcus. They are 2 gram-positive cocci in clusters that you do see in the lab. Aerococcus, you might see it on the urines and bloods. Micrococcus, you see it more in the blood. I talked about how to identify them, whether they're pathogenic or not, and whether they need susceptibilities or not. I always typically like to do a recap on the first few minutes of each episode from the previous episode, but today I'm not going to do that. So if you have any questions, if you want a refresher, go ahead and check out the previous episode, which is episode 31, CNAS, Micrococcus, and Aerococcus. Today we have an interview, and I always love interviews. I get to connect with professionals in the microbiology and laboratory field. It is a great way to connect to get more information. Now I'm going to ask you these questions. For those of you that are medical laboratory professionals, and even if you're not, in your profession, do you find it challenging to get information? If you're a student out there, do you find that you need more resources? If you're a professional, do you want to grow in your field but you encounter roadblocks? You try to ask someone to teach you, you want to learn, and you find it very difficult to do so. Like typically, they have you concentrate more on your work at hand, and then sometimes the grooming, the mentorship, the growing, it happens very slowly and not to everyone. So today we have 2 medical laboratory technologists, and that's what they're called in their country, which is Canada. So we have 2 medical laboratory technologists, which is the equivalent of a medical technologist or medical laboratory scientist here in the US, who have taken the initiative to create a website. And you're going to hear about what the website is about in the interview, what kind of information, what are their goals. You're going to listen to that on the interview. And I told them so, but before we get to the interview, I think it's a great effort, and there should be more of them doing that out there. Sometimes there shouldn't be as many roadblocks as there are in this profession. Don't get me wrong, there are some wonderful people out there that always do their best. They take things as teaching, mentorship, grooming, and all those factors. They take it very seriously. But in other places, maybe it's not as strong. It is challenging. And I know some of you listening out there, they're probably thinking, oh, that's me. So let's go ahead and listen to this interview. And I hope that at the end you agree with me that this is a great effort in their part. And I wish them the best. So in today's episode, we're doing something a little bit different. We're going beyond micro. So today we are actually talking lab. After all, I'm a medical laboratory scientist. And one of the goals of this podcast is to bring awareness to this profession and bring some information. So today I have 2 professionals in the laboratory field that they have a website, and they're here to talk about it and their profession as well. The website is medlabscholar.com, and their names are Xander and Maria. So Xander and Maria, welcome to Let's Talk Micro.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
So let's go ahead and start with some introductions. I already said your names. So let's talk about your education and where in the lab have you worked on. So Maria, we'll start with you.
So hi. Uh, so I have been a practicing medical laboratory technologist in Ontario, Canada for over 5 years. I originally graduated from the Medical Laboratory Science Bachelor Degree program at the University of Ontario Institute of Technology. And after I graduated from this program, I then went on to work at a rural community hospital. And in this hospital, I worked in multiple laboratory disciplines in a core lab. And I also performed phlebotomy and ECGs in this role. From that hospital, I then went on to work at other hospitals in the Greater Toronto area. And then as well, more recently, going to work in a more specialized reference laboratory. So the main disciplines that I've worked with over my career have been in clinical chemistry, hematology, and transfusion medicine. And more recently, in the fall of 2020, I also graduated with a Master of Science in Health Science Education at Master University.
Very nice. All right, congratulations. And all right, so and what about you, Xander?
So I've been an MLT, so med lab technologist here in Ontario, Canada, for just under 2 years. So I'm a bit more all over the place. So I went to do my undergraduate degree at the University of Waterloo, and I just did that in honor science, so focusing on molecular and microbiology. And then afterwards, I tried to dabble in academia, but I did not enjoy it so much. So I went on to do my advanced diploma at St. Lawrence College in Medical Laboratory Sciences. And as for my lab experience, I worked in microbiology and virology.
Nice.
And then I moved into histocompatibility and immunogenetics. So we focused on transplants for kidney, heart, and bone marrow. And this was all in Ottawa. And currently I work as an advisor at the federal government of Canada. And I'm also a Master's of Education student at the University of Ottawa too.
All right, very nice. And for the audience in the States, in the United States, because we're saying, so we call it here in the United States, we say medical lab scientist, there's medical technologists, and then in Canada, it's medical laboratory technologist. Yes, which is, when you abbreviate it, is MLT, but not to confuse it with what in the United States we call the MLTs, which are the medical laboratory technicians, which they go through a program, but it's an associate degree versus a bachelor's degree. So I just wanted to clarify that for the audience. So now that you talked about, your education, because I mentioned before, there are many pathways here that we take to become a medical lab scientist. There's like the 2+2, 3+1. Sometimes you have a degree and then you do like a year in internship. So what does it take to be a medical laboratory technologist in Canada?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And there is a bit of two main pathways depending on the type of person. So for those who are educated in Canada, there's a list of accredited programs to graduate from in order to become a medical laboratory technologist. And these are kind of a mix of community college programs, specialist diploma programs, as well as a few bachelor degree programs, as I mentioned previously, that I graduated from. But all of these programs are accredited by accreditation body. And once graduates of those programs complete their program, they have to write the national certification exam. And this is held by the Canadian Society for Medical Laboratory Science, also known as CSMLS. And then once they successfully pass that exam, different provinces have certain regulatory bodies, and they need to register in order to practice in that province. And yeah, so going through that route is one way to become a medical laboratory technologist in Canada. But another route is for those who are internationally educated. So those coming from different countries who have been educated and have worked in different countries, they need to go through this process called a prior learning assessment. And this is also done through the CSMLS. And once the CSMLS has completed that process to ensure that the education and experience of that individual is equivalent to our standards, then they are able to write the CSMLS certification exam. And then once they pass it, it's the same kind of process, registering with the regulatory body, if applicable, for that province, and practicing. So there's kind of two routes to go about doing it. The one that Xander and I went through, and then the other route for those who are internationally educated.
Very well. So it's, so it's basically like it is over here that we take, there's the American Society for Clinical Pathology, the ASCP, there's the AMT. And then depending on which state we work out, Florida being one of them. So you do have to apply for a license here. And here, depending on the state, they will take the ASCP in lieu of an examination, and then we are allowed to practice laboratory medicine here in the state that you are on. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the website, medlabscholar.com. So what inspired you to create this website?
So basically, when I was a student, I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate. We felt that there was kind of something missing in the profession. So I think it kind of came to me when I was studying, where I saw that there wasn't a lot of representation from like an informal perspective, like a social media platform. For example, like on YouTube, you could see these day in the life of med students or nursing students, where you have these really cool resources that are specialized just for nursing students, but nothing of the same caliber for the MedLab community. I think social media has definitely picked up a lot in terms of our profession, especially in the last couple of years. From when I was a student. And I think that's mainly for two reasons, one being COVID, and the other being the student demographic. The new generation that's coming in has a bigger connection with social media and that sort of platform. So I think that has definitely increased our kind of awareness of the profession as well. And for the website, I previously tried to kind of create a platform similar to it before, but it's quite a lot of work to achieve what I wanted to. So I had to approach all these other amazing MedLab professionals. So Maria, Gabriella, Noemi, and Monique. And we all have the same passion for the profession, for the field. And so we kind of agreed that there was this niche that was kind of missing, and we could definitely fill it and apply our knowledge, our skills, and our passion towards it.
Well, yes, definitely, yes. There's always has been, unawareness about the profession, and definitely not enough information. And when you said about social media, yes, before I started this podcast, I mean, I've been on social media for years, but then now that I started looking at micro pages and lab pages, there's definitely a lot of information that's coming up, a lot of pages, and it's definitely been a great opportunity to connect with fellow lab professionals and others in the medical field. So you kind of talk a little bit about that, but what is the goal for this website?
So the goal of MedLab Scholar is to enhance accessibility of these educational resources for medical laboratory students, but as well for professionals. And doing this by providing relevant resources, up-to-date news with a interactive, engaging, and community-oriented learning environment. So we are doing this by providing the learning resources on our website, sharing educational notes, providing opportunities for education and professional development, and really importantly, engaging with the medical laboratory community globally. Although we may be all Canadian professionals, the aim of this site is to reach a global audience of medical laboratory students and professionals.
Okay. So that was going to be my next question. So it is intended for both students if you are going through a program and you're trying to supplement on what you're learning, and then at the same time, if you're a professional and then you're also looking for some tools, because definitely information is power. So you're definitely looking for some tools to, be more proficient at your job, or help you in your career. So it is intended for both, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the goal of it was to kind of, like I was saying before, there was a bit of disconnect when I was student between, um, obviously being a student in the profession. You didn't always have a big idea of what people did in the lab, what people actually did in the profession. So this website is kind of a way to branch that and have sort of an informal outlet for MedLab students and professionals to connect and collaborate. And like we said before, it's a global community that we want to create.
Yeah, very well. And I will definitely circle back to the about the awareness of our position, our profession. Before that, I want to ask about the website. As I was going through it, so I saw that you had, they talked about tutors and mentors. Can you elaborate a little more on that, please?
Sure. So I'll talk about the tutors first. So uh, again, like I was just talking about, we want an area to for students and professionals to go where they can connect and also collaborate. So I think a tutor board was one of the first steps and most recognizable steps to take to create a connection between people. So basically what we do is we offer tutor services. So we offer the opportunity to host people on our site to show their tutor services. So someone can apply and they can be from anywhere in the world, and they'll be able to list their services and people will be able to contact them and connect with them to be tutored by them. And so it's all the connecting and tutoring is done outside of the website. We kind of just provide the method or the area to connect with.
And so for the mentorship, on our website, we are also currently accepting applications into our mentorship program. And these applications are for both mentors as well as mentees. So mentorship programs are important as mentors are able to provide guidance, direction, and advice to mentees. And it's also extremely important for students and those early professionals in order for them to learn that valuable insight from more experienced medical laboratory professionals. And unfortunately, this is where there's kind of a gap in our profession, as there are not as many organizations that provide mentorship programs specifically for the medical laboratory profession. So this is kind of a gap that we're looking at MedLab Scholar filling. For those students and early professionals that are interested in being mentored, as well as those professionals who are interested at being mentors. So in our program, when the mentors are matched with their mentees, they will meet together on a regular basis for at least 6 months in order to discuss the mentee's career, academic, or professional goals. And the mentor will help guide them through this. And after the 6-month period is over, the mentorship can be extended if the mentor and mentee decide to, but this is initially our plan for our mentorship program at MedLab Scholar.
Well, definitely, you said that about, there's definitely a lack of mentors. And now, I don't know, it seems that it's very similar to the way that it is here in the States. I think that, yeah, that's something that I have noticed in my career. And there's not a lot of mentorship. And I don't know what it is. I mean, and it's not everyone. And there's a lot of good technologists and a lot of good lab professionals that are always willing to, share and help out. But you also encounter roadblocks. And then sometimes, you want to learn or you ask, and then you find those, it becomes sometimes a little hard. Like not everyone maybe wants to teach, or, they don't want to show you things and you try. So there's definitely some roadblocks there. So having this in a place where you can access it, it's definitely, it's definitely a great idea. This is a huge profession. There's room for everyone. And yeah, of course, if we know something, why not help an upcoming, technologists the same thing, so they can shape their career and get the tools they need to succeed. I mean, it's a huge field. I think we can all succeed together. And going back to the tutors, it's definitely a great idea. I mean, there's definitely a lot of stuff that we have to learn when we go through this program. And you imagine now, especially this is great at the time of at a time of a pandemic, where a lot of this stuff has been, you have to learn it online, and that makes it even more challenging, right? Like you're trying to learn gram stains and plates and online, and it's just something that you have to, get your hands on. So definitely having, connecting with someone that can help you supplement what you're learning, it's definitely a great idea.
Absolutely.
So now that, we're gonna, then, we're circling back to the lack of awareness. So that was going to be a question, and then you said it. I mean, Xander. So there's not, like, over here, it's just like I found out about this when I was in the military. I'm like, I wanted a job to do. I'm like, hey, I always, of course, growing up, you always get your blood drawn. You do go to the hospital, get some sort of testing, but you don't really think about it. And then I found out about this profession, and then most of the people that I have met in this field, they always find out by accident. Either they knew someone or a friend of a friend that did this program. And then it's always basically the same story. It's like, oh yeah, I have my degree, and then I didn't know what to do. And then I found out that so-and-so did this program. Yeah, so definitely there's a lack of awareness. Which brings me to my next question. What can we do to bring more awareness to our profession?
Yeah, so there are, I think, many different ways that we can bring more awareness to the medical laboratory profession. I think one of the easiest things that many people can do in this day and age as well, as Xander previously mentioned briefly, is with social media. So there have been many different social media campaigns initiated by medical laboratory organizations, either on a national or a more regional basis. And this has helped in the social media sphere give awareness to the profession. And in addition, especially with the pandemic, a lot of laboratory professionals and these organizations have been also giving media exposure about the realities of the profession, especially during the pandemic, especially during the shortages and the mass retirements. And this helps to reach the public to inform them about the issue. So when they're wondering, oh, why is it taking so long for my COVID test to come back? They can understand the realities that laboratories are facing today. And as well, many laboratory professionals have also written about these issues, and these have reached national outlets, printed outlets such as newspapers or magazines, or even online magazines, so they can be reached more accessibly to everyone. And another way more awareness can be brought to the profession is a bit of a more challenging process, and this will be with government changes. A lot of the issues the current laboratory workforce faces, especially in Canada, and this is probably very similar in the United States as well, needs to be resolved with government policy changes or government support, either with providing more educational programs for medical laboratory technologists, as well as providing more funding. And these processes take time, but there are a lot of ways that laboratory professionals can become involved in these processes to help educate government officials, to be part of lobbying processes as well with their government too. So there's different tiers of ways that more awareness can be brought. And I think all of these different ways are very valuable.
Yes, definitely, and yeah, it definitely takes time, but hopefully, yeah, we can, there can be some changes and there can be more awareness and more people, because we definitely always, we always need the personnel. One of the great things about this profession, yeah, it's just at the same time you can pretty much get a job anywhere because there's always demand, but at the same time we could use more because we all found ourselves, especially with all the COVID testing and all the other challenges, lack of supplies and everyone putting in extra hours. Yes, definitely we need more awareness. Well, definitely I think what you're doing is it's great, taking the lead on, doing something great for our profession. I mean, you had me at the with the mentors. That's always been one of my biggest thing. I'm always looking for one and I don't find one. And then, it's simple and at the same time, it's not. It's like you just okay, it's like we want to do something, you went ahead and did it. And it definitely takes a lot of hard work, but you're doing things like that at the end is just gonna help everyone and connecting people and giving everyone the tools. So it's definitely some exciting times, and I hope this really takes off and everyone starts using it more. Hopefully with time everything can change and we can see more laboratorians improving their careers, and if they want to go up and get more involved in management, they can find it easier to do so. So with this, hopefully some of those roadblocks can be removed. So really, this is some great work. So congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to say to the audience?
No, I think we've said a lot. I think just engaging in medlabscholar.com, the only way we can build a community is to essentially grow the community. So just visiting us, seeing what we're about, connecting with us. We have many different ways of connecting, like you do as well, through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, just visiting our website. We have a Discord as well. So there's so many different ways to connect with us and so many different ways we're going to try and connect with you all. So just look out. We have lots of good stuff coming.
Yes, and please, while you're on our website, register with us too. It is free. So, and it'll be a great way for medical laboratory students and professionals to be connected to the resources and services that we'll be providing on the website.
Sounds great. So I want to thank both of you for taking the time. Before I close up, so there's because I do follow. You have the website has its own like Twitter handle and Instagram, right? So it's just MedLab Scholar.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, to you, the audience out there, when you are in your social media, go ahead and check them out via Instagram, Twitter, or go to medlabscholar.com. So Xander and Maria, it's been a pleasure. I want to thank you for taking the time to come into Let's Talk Micro. And if you have something that's lab related that you want to talk about, please feel free. You're more than welcome to come back.
For sure. We're a small community, so we definitely will reach out again.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
And that, my dear audience, it's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoy listening to this interview. I certainly enjoy conducting it and connecting with two fellow lab professionals. Such a great initiative doing this website, putting more information out there. I hope this is the beginning of, this is the beginning of change as to the way that sometimes, things happen in the laboratory field. Bring more awareness, bring more tools to make stronger professionals. So, such a great effort. As always, stay motivated, continue bringing that passion to what you do. So stay motivated, stay safe, and of course, continue talking micro. Until the next time, bye.